News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And a jolly good morning to you. It's wet though, and this is live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo, and we are, of course, Newsline. And this morning, our guest is Mr. Chrishmal Warnasuriya, that legal expert and all that. He needs really no introduction. Jolly good morning to you, Chrishmal.
Top of the morning to you, Faraz. Good to be here again.
Indeed. Thank you very much. I love these kind of headlines. The Salon today says, "No clue on Mahendran's whereabouts." That's a good explanation as any, I suppose. No clue on. I just hope that no information is put forward later on.
We sound like one of those banana republics, no? Somewhere maybe lost in the Caribbean who only drink and party all the time.
Yes, but I don't want to be
countries.
disrespectful to the
to
the Caribbean, but we do fit the bill of the perception of a banana republic.
I mean, particularly when you say we no clue.
No clue.
I mean, it's Sri Lanka. Yeah.
What is this nonsense? Yeah. I'd love to, Chrishmal, get my hands on the CCTV cameras and the recordings of the movements of Sri Lanka's representative in Singapore, just to see who came and went. We'd love to do that.
But then leads us to the question also for us, doesn't it, as to whether Sri Lanka's representative anywhere in the world, other than having a jolly good time and having cocktails in the evening and sending their children to international schools at our expense, whether they're actually doing anything. Forget catching Arjun Mahendra in Singapore, about commerce and industry.
Yes, what are they doing about it?
Yeah, surely be proactive about it, find some business for us, because today's diplomacy is not the 1940s, 50s where we had to grapple with globalized superpowers and balance competing interests. I mean, if you look at 50s, 60s, Chitra Vedikara and the great names, Dr. Vernon Mendes, the golden era of our diplomacy. They had to grapple by trying to balance two superpowers, the Eastern and the Western bloc, and the Cold War.
And try and make
we don't have a Cold War anymore, because we don't have a war anymore. So now, at least now they can utilize their time on bringing some business to the country, making sure the economy rises. What are they doing? I seriously have a question. Anyway,
it's actually a little bit utterly useless talk about these people, because they just lie at the drop of a hat. And now that leads us nicely to leads us nicely to this question of affidavits. Now I'll tell you, our legislators are absolutely wonderful pieces
very
of
smart
work.
when they want to be.
When they want to be. Now they are going to rely on affidavits to prove how clean they are. Isn't it absolutely marvelous? Now, what is our legal position?
For us, affidavit is a sworn statement. You and I can give an affidavit. I can give an affidavit to you last evening when your producers called me. I hereby sincerely, solemnly and truly declare to Faraz Shauketaly that I shall be at your Newsline this morning. Now, if I breach that, then nothing, absolutely nothing you can do about it, except perhaps if you suffer loss as a consequence of my statement, then you can take me to court in a civil suit and ask for damages. You didn't come for my program in the morning, I suffered loss, my company suffered such and such a loss. Therefore, Chrishmal Warnasuriya, you are obliged to pay such and such amount to me for the loss suffered by your station and you for coming here in the morning and my not coming. Now, that's a long and short of what you can do with my affidavit that I gave you. If you give an affidavit in the process of court proceedings to a judicial officer, or there are certain exceptions where a government authority relies upon a statement given by you which is sworn, a quasi-judicial proceeding or whatever, then you can be summoned by that court or authority that you gave that sworn statement to, knowingly or willfully intending to mislead it, and be found faulty. And that can attract, in certain circumstances, I'm not going to the detail, certain criminal liability. Right? But not if I give you one. But now, parliamentarians for us, there is some semblance of truth in what the regulation is. When a parliamentarian makes a statement, that is a breach of a parliamentary privilege. You follow? Now, if under the Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, under section 22, 23 of the Act, if they breach a parliamentary privilege, depending upon which privilege they breach, they can be found faulty, either if it's a Schedule A offence. There are two schedules.
Right.
In Schedule A, those listed as considered a bit serious, where the Supreme Court must hear them.
Right.
Notice issued on them saying, you have breached such and such a privilege, come and explain why you did it.
Right.
And if they are found fault, then they can go to prison for a period not exceeding 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And Schedule B is Parliament itself can look into what that breach is and take a ruling in the Parliament. Now, in the Schedule A that I said, where Supreme Court tries, there is something like this, where you willfully publish any false or perverted report to any committee, presenting to Parliament or to any committee any false, untrue, fabricated or falsified document with the intent to deceive Parliament or any committee.
Right.
Now, if they give an affidavit to Parliament or within its proceeding, saying that on the question, did you take this money or were you given any money by such and such, which is considered to be a proceeding in respect of what we are now discussing.
Like co.
Like co.
Yeah.
And then, or not even co, were you, if the question is posed, did you take money from so and so, A, B or C, we'll talk about that money angle later, but and if they give an affidavit saying, I didn't, and if they had the intention, if in the trial by the Supreme Court, and they found that they had the intention to deceive or fabricate or falsify, as they say, then they can be found faulty, and then sent to prison. So that's how the affidavit thing comes in. Some smart Alaric, as not Alarics, would have found this provision. And possibly a Thomian, but then we are prejudiced. Would have come out with this and then found a way, and that's why the affidavit story comes out, I think.
All right, now then, just because you've just mentioned this, a question has arisen. What about, now we were told that our dear Prime Minister was asked to send some questions by the Commission of Inquiry, and he responded in the form of an affidavit. So same rule applies there, is it?
Yeah, if the Commission finds that untruths or parliamentary privilege, I do not know whether parliamentary privilege will attract court proceedings.
Right.
This is a statement given to Parliament or any committee thereof.
Yes, but this Presidential Commission is not...
Yeah, Presidential Commission, I do not know whether the law can go that far to attract the proceedings of Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the Parliamentary Privileges Act. But of course the Commission of Inquiry Act has provision.
For the same sort of thing.
If you give under oath, if you give a statement that is falsified or misleading, if you have attempted or intended to mislead the proceedings of the Commission or the findings thereof, then you can be found guilty and the Commission can deal with it. And there are provisions that lead to that.
Right, okay. So when the Commission made various observations on certain people, witnesses, or I think they're all called witnesses, aren't they?
They come and give evidence.
Evidence. Those who were summoned before. And when it was noted that at least if you're lying, make it a bit believable, then I suppose those people will be in some form of trouble within the fullness of time. Who has to take action now that the Commission of Inquiry is kind of dissolved? So who
Commission of Inquiry, after giving the report, comes to a standstill in terms of the mandate. But still, if it is found that someone lied under oath or gave false information to the Commission, I am sure the law has sufficient. I do not know exactly off my head. I can't tell you the section under which is dealt. But the Commission of Inquiry Act or the Presidential Commission of Inquiry Act has sufficient provision for dealing with offenders who violate those norms.
Would they have had to put it in their report?
No, how can they put in the report if they don't know? If they haven't found that, that's proceeding, no? It must be found that such and such a person misled the Commission or lied to the Commission knowingly.
Who finds that out?
So obviously there has to be a process. I don't know who finds it out. Someone must make the allegation that what such and such a person said that this Commission is an untruth or falsified statement intended to mislead the Commission.
So somebody, Joe Public, must go and make it.
Well, Joe Public or even the Commission or one of the officers or people who are now subsequently investigating upon the findings of the Commission, if they come across such evidence that someone has misrepresented facts or lied under oath or whatever, then they can take action.
I see. So then what about What about the right to information? Now, this whole affidavit thing is there, and then of course there is this right to information. And
they went and asked someone went and asked for information.
Yes,
missing pages.
Missing pages and all that. Who on earth is the presidential secretary?
In seconds, you said. It goes back to your first question, you know, in the morning.
Yeah.
Where are we living? Missing pages. Someone gives a report and pages are missing.
This is actually some. We'll have to change the name of the country and somewhere introduce the word banana republic.
May I, in a more serious note, we get to the RT, right to information. I think for us there is an absence of knowledge, a vast lack of knowledge, which you and I are talking now. How many out there understand?
Yeah.
You follow? That a report has been given to the supreme legislative authority of the country, and pages have been missing, and they have been kept away until someone found that pages were missing. And the Honorable Speaker then makes a request to Secretary, Excellency President, who said, no, I can't give it without asking for advice because it's secret information. Then someone sends it to some archives, National Archives, say, I'm going to keep it for 30 years. All of this, it is not a problem for the majority of the country for us. That's why these jokers continue to do things that they do. And frankly for us, I point the finger at yours and my friends also.
I'm sure you're talking about what the two of us would fondly refer to as the sleeping elite.
The sleeping elite. This country is full of either people who understand these problems, who don't want to do anything about it.
That's right.
Now, you know,
they're seated in their do-nothing seat.
Yeah, you will have friends that you were in school with. I have friends who I was in school with who speak the English language. They must be watching this, right? But when we meet them, you talk about, I mean, of course, at cocktails in the evenings and all that, they want to ask you, so what happened, Chrishmal? So what are you all doing? You know, we watched the news, we know, very nice, that statement you made and all that. But you actually ask them to do something. Yeah, hear this, we also do business with these people, or, this minister is known to me, we'd much rather, talk to that minister and see whether something can be done. I'm telling you, for us,
is this something can be done?
I'm telling you, I'm talking of very serious customs offences, customs violations, right? And serious matters with regard to the economy of the country. I have a top corporate industrialist coming to me for consultations, professional consultations. And when legal advice is given to them, they say, but of course, can we check with the minister and come now? You are coming to sue the minister and the ministry for some violation of some major regulation. Then they actually want to go and ask that minister, is it okay if we file action, can we do this or, can you sort this out? I mean, that's the level that your sleeping elite and mine are friends. And so when there's that sort of apathy, at the level that who understands what we're saying.
Right word, apathy.
Who understand what you're saying, you and I are saying. Then the rest of the country can't actually understand what we're saying because they are worried, hand-to-mouth economy. They run in the morning like clockwork mice at 5 or 4 in the morning, not do one job, if not do two, just to bring the bacon home to feed their children when they come home. So that 90% doesn't understand or have the time to understand what we are saying. The few elite, the sleeping elite that you and I talk of, now we run a voluntary organization, several others run a voluntary organization trying to make a change. For us, I'm telling you, sometimes, of course, we are lucky to have, very fortunate, to have some very committed professionals with Ratan Sudhakamo, and so we managed to now get some policy level things going. But some people that we talk to, the sleeping elite, our friends that you speak, they'd much rather sit at home and watch on the armchair at home and see what Faraz and Chrishmal have been talking, and then talk to us at a cocktail about it, rather than actually getting up from their armchair and doing something about it.
Yes, Captain Elmo Jawardner used that word first, I think, on my program here, and he spoke about people who are seated in the do-nothing seat.
Do-nothing seat. And going to RTI, since you asked me, now the right to information that the Secretary to His Excellency the President...
Yes, well, in which planet is Austin Fernando in?
The rule is that subsequent to the formulation of the right in the Constitution, after 19th Amendment, that all of us got involved in drafting and all that, there was a right created by the Constitution that all of us are entitled to a right to information. We have to be given information. And then they took a while to bring the regime in because it said according to the law that provides for it. Then they brought the law, the Right to Information Act. So in terms of the Right to Information Act, all of us in those given situations are entitled to information that we ask for.
Yeah.
Now it has certain exceptions.
Yes.
Certain exceptions in the Act itself, which comes at about under about Section 5. Before Section 5, if you go to look at Section 3, there is a small provision, 3.2, which says that the provisions of this Act, the Right to Information Act, shall not be in derogation of the powers, privileges or practices of Parliament.
Yeah.
Now, so if Austin Fernando were to think that this, so to that extent, I don't blame him for getting legal advice. If you are not a lawyer, or even if you are a lawyer, and if you think that I must get a second opinion on how this Act reads, that's okay. But to deny information saying I've sent it to the archives or you can't get it for 30 years or before that, why were certain pages not sent to Parliament?
Exactly. Exactly.
My question is that who is, even with the utmost respect, who is His Excellency the President even to decide what information shall not be given to our elected representatives?
Exactly.
I'm not talking with Secretary now. I'm talking with His Excellency the President.
I'm glad you're mentioning this because in another matter about the 19th Amendment, we must remember that it was our network that went to court to challenge some aspects of
provisions
the provisions.
Where it came during election time that you could sort of have a control over private media.
Now, but also at the same time, another member of the legal community who's now in the West Indies trying to report about cricket, Govind Dasri, God bless him, he went to court and he raised the question that the 19th Amendment will sort of take away the right of the people to vote block them off for 4.5 years.
Is he watching the West Indies game by the way?
He must do. I hope he's reporting from there. Right? And he's got a little gadget and all that.
I tried to watch it late last night. He got 4 wickets, so it is good.
Oh, that's good. Govind must have, crashed a few coconuts there. Now, the point is that the Supreme Court at the time didn't respond at all to what Mr. Dasri raised. It was kind of ignored. No, not kind of ignored, it was ignored.
I don't know, I was also part of those proceedings, Faraz. I appeared in that 19th Amendment definition bill. I can't particularly remember whether there was any ignorance of that nature, and even if there was, discussing proceedings, particularly of court proceedings in public, I will not want to be part of some member of the fraternity.
Right,
more than that, I don't think. Except if there's a critique of the judgment. So unless you can show me an area of the determination where we say an argument has been raised and that has not been sufficiently addressed by the judges, certainly we can look at it. We can look at it.
Within the day, I will send you the bit.
We can have a look at it. But can we just go back to the right to information that you were speaking? So I said, when parliamentary privilege and all that, maybe Austin Fernando wants to get an opinion on whether this would attract any privilege. But I say, before that, there was no reason whatsoever, if a report has been given by a presidential commission, for part of it, for someone to decide, I'm only going to give part of it and the other part I'm not going to give. If there is such authority in this country, I'd like to know who is that authority who decides on what information to place before our elected representatives and what information not to reveal.
Now,
very quickly. But then Section 5 has some exceptions.
Right.
It's a denial of access to information.
Right.
So under denial of access to information, there are certain provisions, exceptions. So the rule is that we are entitled to information. But the proviso is that under these circumstances, the state may or the agency may refuse or deny access. Now, in my reading of it, none of these provisions attract the Presidential Commission of Inquiry report that has provisions with regard to what happened at those proceedings. But this says that's not for us. Now, for example, if it relates to personal information or disclosure that has no relationship to any public activity,
we all understand.
Which will damage you personally. Then, of course, it would undermine the defense of the state or territorial integrity or national security.
Yes, we all understand.
Now, if it's likely to be seriously prejudice Sri Lanka's relations with any state or international. Now, those are exceptions under which and there are several others under which information may be denied. So even that Austin Fernando may decide to get an opinion. He's not a lawyer, that's okay. But I don't see anything attracting these provisions. In fact, even other commissioners said.
Do you think he's just reacted ad hoc because on the one side there is a belief amongst all sorts of people and people who send us messages that Austin Fernando is the PM's man?
That may very well be a person. I have no information on it personally.
Yeah.
But if that is a criticism, then that's something that he'll have to face publicly. Yeah. But can we, I don't know whether you have time, you have to break or can I quickly touch on this?
Yes, you can, except that I thought I'll say this question. There's several questions from viewers, but one of them says, assume that GR would be next head of the state, and do you think that you would be able to talk about freely about corruption?
I don't know who they mean by GR.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. So if you are speaking of the GR that I think you are speaking of,
yes.
Remember that when all the R's were in heading the state, not just GR, whether it's MR, BR, GR or any other R, we were still fighting. Go to Google, put my name or any other name of the activists of the time. Yes. When General Fonseca was being court-martialed, carried off, we defended him, and we had unmarked motorcyclists coming after us in black helmets. But when we had 2 young children, when our friends were asking us, why are you doing it, we still took them on. When an draconian 18th Amendment was brought to bring a certain R to power till eternity, we took that on. And so I think the viewer would have been sleeping. Certainly we were not sleeping. Whoever who asked this question would have been sleeping at the time. We have been discussing these issues, whether R's or not ours, and we'll continue to discuss this with our A to Z, whoever is in the control of the state, as long as the citizens of this country has given me a mandate on which I have sworn an oath to protect and uphold this constitution, people like us will continue to agitate.
Yes, and we mustn't forget that Newsfirst, we were bombed, we were Claymore bombed, we were stoned, we were called all sorts of names.
I actually take grave offense at that question.
Yes.
Certainly someone who doesn't know past activities.
Indeed. So you know, I don't know.
Can we get on to something
Yes,
important?
we'll get on to something more important than that.
But can we, Faraz, since you asked, on the exceptions of the right to information, I don't read any denial right in this act.
Right.
But may I just pose a larger question to sleeping elite and the others who may be watching this? Are we not missing the wood for the trees with this whole question of going after 1 MP and 1 million? Because I know Faraz for a fact, because remember I was also part of a national list at one election, and I know corporates fund every party across the board and give billions, all corporates, because it's like a bet. They feel that if someone comes from a position of authority, we can, like we said earlier, we can talk to that minister that we know and get something done. Now this happens all over the world. We must face that reality that funding towards an electoral process, particularly when it's competitive like ours, right, happens. Now we need to regulate that. And we are only now talking of one man who had taken 1 million. How many billions would have been given to all parliamentarians over the years? We need to discuss that. And how do we regulate that? How does that become transparent? How are all those black monies transferred to politicians before an electoral process? And how do we regulate that and know which party funded so much and how many millions they raked in, and whether those funds now, for example, in USA and all that, there's regulation of party funding. And then there's a separate department, the Attorney General's department. Few years back when we were invited as future leaders by the State Department, and we were taken around 8 states, we also visited the Attorney General's department. There is a different branch there in the US AG's department that goes after party funding. They monitor to see, okay, you are disclosed that such and such amount has come in.
If we do that here, the police officer in charge of that unit, or whoever's in charge, will find himself transferred to the island of Delft.
Or to the Caribbean.
Or to the Caribbean. You know, so that's state there. But very quickly, is it only Dayasri and Fonseca who got this money?
Actually, I think I appreciate the honesty.
Well, yes, I do.
In a relative sense, I'm not saying that what they did was correct, but I appreciate the honesty for coming forward and saying that we got this money. How many more people do you think would have raked in much more, millions if not billions, who are not saying it? whose names are now attempted to be protected by right to information and saying
All
that
sorts,
we have
yes.
sent it for 30 years to the archives or
And
whatever.
then if they got a new weapon, it's called Austin Fernando.
Well, he was a weapon as a Secretary of Defense. I don't know whether he's a...
No, he's a weapon now. He's more potent than the Secretary of Defense now.
I have highest regard for the man.
Oh, he's a lovely man, but he's
I think he
badly
may
behaving.
he may also be caught in a catch-22. I mean, do I give to be or not to be? As
But
Shakespeare says.
thank you for this viewer who sent this message, and it seems to be so true. It says, your only obligation in any lifetime is to be true to yourself.
Absolutely. To your conscience. And I think, I'm sure you must also. We must be answerable for actions here. And ultimately, I believe that I am answerable to report as to what I have done in the idea that Abu Ben Adam made his life increase, the whole poem we studied in school.
Yeah.
When the book of gold is opened and the question is asked, well, this is what did you do, we have to be answerable.
Is it possible in this hypothetical world that I pose this question to you, can the Speaker of Parliament, with cold neutrality, can he say, listen chaps, there's public concern about this issue of accepting money from Mr. A or B or whoever, or Mr. AA, whoever. And can you, each of you, just stand up and say, yes, I got money from them in this period, or no? Can the Speaker ask them to do that?
Well, Speaker, I don't think in reality, I don't think if I were Speaker, I'd do that, because I am then impinging upon a privilege of a parliamentarian of confidentiality of information.
Right.
But the parliamentarian may volunteer. You see, now, it doesn't have to be an affidavit.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an affidavit.
They can just make a statement.
They can make a statement to Parliament. If that statement is wrong, they can be found faulted.
Yeah.
You don't need to make a sworn statement and go and have some media show and say, here, I'm giving an affidavit.
Yeah. It's all about the media show, isn't it, really?
Faraz, I'm sorry, I don't mean you personally, but our media also, I've said this at Sutton, your single station sometime back. The media has also hyped up your politicians, thinking that politicians are superstars, or rather superstars have come to politics.
That's how they present themselves.
No, hang on, because cricket stars and cricket stars, movie stars, soap stars, baba stars, they all want to be stars. Or some of them who come in are stars, gained on the popularity. But they do not have a semblance of what legislation is, what making law is. And they do not know what policy making is. So then, the media also runs after them in a massive circus, trying to push a microphone down their throat when they're coming out of some building. Right? So they think that they're stars. I've said this example before, that during the election time that I was part of, I got off, I drove my own car and I got off at some meeting when I was asked to speak before the party leaders. And someone came out and said, in Sinhala he said, no point you coming like this, you must come with a few fellows in front of you, another vehicle, couple of fellows must get off with a gun or something, and then some cameras must come. Then only they feel that you're important. So until our media also gets out of this circus, where you think you're making superstars out of politicians. Politics for us, particularly legislation, parliamentarian, is a very boring job. You have to sit there.
Can we end with a commentary on this? Some viewers saying, Faraz, let us not mix up corporate funding with money that has been robbed and used for funding political parties.
I disagree with that view, with all due respect. Corporate funding, if you fund a particular politician, you are under a duty to disclose as to why do you fund a politician? For what purpose?
For the passion?
For the passion. If you are passionate, then disclose it. I am giving such and such 25 million to such and such politician. And then we will know when that politician goes and assumes some public office as a minister or something, and if that politician gives you an undue tender or out of the tender process a contract or whatever, then we will know, this is why you are getting that tender. So I disagree with it. Party funding or whatever funding,
we need
regulations, we need accountability, we need transparency. And I'm sorry, it may be unpopular to all of you.
Can we apply that same request on all what you just said? We need all that to finding Arjuna Mahendran. Can we?
Well, we should. Arjuna Mahendran is no privileged person. There is a law in this country that applies to everyone, top to bottom. Top to bottom.
Yes. On that note, Chrishmal Faraz, thank you very much for being on Newsline.
Always
appreciate your presence.
Good to be.
And the hunt for Arjuna Mahendran is very much on. if you actually, last question. Sorry, control room, but there's somebody who says here, why do you give money to beggars? And this viewer is suggesting that these politicians are nothing but that, beggars, because that's why they ask money. On that note, I have to go because the control room wants it all
Have
back.
a good day, all of you.
And do have a great day, because these are mere palpitations on living, and we can smile and take it. But we mustn't lose our direction and our passion to pursue the truth and accountability. On that note, take care. God bless.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.